Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Peter, the stay-at-home DNNer. A while back I made a little series of videos about how to install DNN so you can start developing yourself on your website. I haven't made a video for quite a bit, and I thought I'd take it one step further and show you actually what I do with that technology and how I take it, if you like, to the next level, where I automate some of the common tasks I do after resetting the development site. And if you haven't seen that previous series, you may want to check that out. So there is a PowerShell task embedded in the DNN distribution, and it's called Reset Dev Site. And it will bring your development site to whatever it is you have currently checked out in code in your repository, your local repository. So again, if you haven't seen that, you may want to check that out. For this presentation, I would like to show you how, for instance, I tweak the web.config when I reset the dev site, how I then install DNN automatically. I add some roles and some users to it, and I change the host password because that's something that during the installation process is necessary. You can't stick with DNN host, so I change it always to another value. And for this video, we'll be using PowerShell, mostly C# because I'm not a huge fan of the PowerShell syntax, and Puppeteer, which is a technology to automate your browser, basically. So let's delve in and let's have a look at what I have here on my machine. All right, so here I have a copy of Visual Studio Code. I have my local DNN repository checked out. Start again. Okay, so here I have my local DNN repo open in Visual Studio Code. You will be familiar with the structure. In one of the previous videos, I explained how this is all organized and that the build scripts are found here under build. And right now, what I would like to do is to tweak the web.config when I reset the website to also update the value for use the install wizard. I mean, so if you use the install, if you know this in the web.config of a default website, you will have, let me just bring it up. We have the platform. Well, here's a example of a website here. So we have the web.config, and you can see there's a value here for use install wizard. Now, if you set that to true, then what will happen is when you first load up DNN, it will bring up the wizard and you fill in all your variables, and it will install a website in this nice kind of step-by-step fashion. If you set it to false, it works in the way it used to work in the past, which is it would just produce a list of everything that it's installing, and it would work off the values that you had filled in previously already yourself in the web.config. And since we're generating the web.config with already the location of the SQL server, the connection string inside, it's not really necessary for me to use the install wizard, and it's a bit cumbersome every time I reset the website to have to go through this. So I would like to switch it off. Well, what you might be unaware of, and what I didn't touch on in the earlier videos, is that in that script that resets the dev site, this XSL file is used to generate the web.config file, which is of course just an XML file. If you're familiar with XSL and XML, you will recognize this as XSL, and what it does here is in this default file, that this is the one that's distributed with DNN, It sets the site SQL server connection string to whatever value is the connection string that we're currently using in processing. And if you have set, for instance, an object qualifier or a DB owner, they will be filled in as well. And the latter two would be in your settings local JSON. If I can just double click that, there we go. So here I have the DB owner set as DBO, object qualifier. I'm not using that right now. But this is the connection string. It's my local server. This is the database, and I've got a test account here. Test. So that works just fine, but it won't change the value of that use install wizard. So to do that, you can actually override this XSL file with a local file, right? So webconfig transform.local.xsl. This will be excluded from entering into Git, but you know, it will be used by the process. If it finds it, it will use that one instead of the default one that's included in the distribution. Now here you can add your personal tweaks to the web.config as you reset the dev site. This will only run on reset dev site. Keep that in mind. So with the reset dev site, what I would like to do is I would like to go to the configuration node, and then I have that's another tweak I'm making. I'm going to use an email pickup directory under where I'm installing the website. If you're not familiar with this, .NET or IS can actually, when you fire off the mail client and say, okay, send mail, what it will do is it will mimic like it was an email server that will take in the email and just write out those emails to disk, right? Which is always a very useful thing if you're debugging notifications or something in your framework. Here you will see that I'm actually matching wherever it's use install wizard as a key, which is the one we're after, and set the value to false. So this XSL file will make those tweaks, right? The rest, everything that's above here, this is all the standard stuff. This was what was in the default XSL, and this is everything that I've added to it. So yeah, just know that you have that at your disposition. So the way now, what I would like to do is I would like to now create a script, and I'm going to do that in PowerShell. That is going to reset my dev site, and I'm going to call it reset DNN. I have it in my PowerShell folder. And so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to cd into where my repo is. Great for that autocomplete. Thank you very much. And I'm going to do the build.ps1, and the target is reset dev site. And now that I've set that up, it means that if I just load the web page from the URL, it would install all by itself. So I'm going to put that in a variable equals invoke web request. For those familiar with PowerShell, this is a command to basically just request a web page in the background, and the URI is http://net/nuke.local, because that's the address of my local website. Right, now if I run this will not just reset the dev site to its initial state, but it will also request that web page and start installing DNN. Still not very exciting, because after that I still have to do a number of other things. And for that, I will use a library that I have created, and it's called I'll bring this up first to show you. It's called DNN PowerShell Local. These are local PowerShell functions specific for DNN that are created, and this is a project that can be found on GitHub. I'll put a link in the description below. And this includes a bunch of functions that I can use locally, not remotely, but just locally on this machine that also hosts the website to actually manipulate that website. And to give you an idea of what it actually does, I've loaded the project here, and there are a number of commands, but the ones we're going to use are add roles and add users. So add roles takes in a number of parameters like which portal ID, the number of roles, and a role group name. And add users takes a number of parameters, which is which portal ID again, how many users we're going to create. And then what the code does, it allows you to spread those users out over the various roles. So you get a kind of a random distribution of users across roles. This is, for me, a very good way to set up the dev site, because that way I don't need to start creating roles and creating users and adding those users to roles if I want to run tests on some functionality. And I can specify password. That's easy because then I can log in as that user, of course. And there we go. And then it uses scripts that are embedded in the DLL. So let's have a look. They are here. So these SQL scripts, of course, that's the if you like the fragile bit, because they connect to the specific version of DNN. Now this hasn't changed for many versions now, so they're still good to go. But that might change in the future, and I'll have to adjust the project. And I've included a few word lists that I found online to generate automatic role names and to generate automatic usernames, basically. So there you get some pretty funky names coming out of those word lists, but it's great for creating just random content on your website. So check that project out if you're interested. Now the way it works is that you first say use DNN, which will change the thread in PowerShell to then target that specific DNN. And what it does is it actually, you point it to a folder. So I'll say use DNN, and it's here, the folder, it's websites /local /. Just might as well add the backslash. And this now examines the web.config that is used for that website, and loads up the connection string, so it knows how to talk to the SQL server. And now you can start using the various commands of the library, and it will act on this thing. So I'm first going to add some roles, add roles, and then I'm going to go for portal ID being 0 and the number of roles, let's say it's going to be 10. I'm going to add users. I'm going to go for, again, portal ID 0, and then how many users shall we add? 100. And let's go for min roles 2, right? Minimum of 2 roles, max roles of 4. And I'm going to set the password to password. It's a test site. There's no need to have something super secure. All right. Now, from this point on, I still need to make that mail folder, the drop-off folder. So I need to do that as well. I'm going to go to websites and www.nuke.local/www, and then I'm going to have to make a directory called email. All right, so okay, so what this now should do is create the website, tweak the web.config, load up the website, i.e. install it, not using the install wizard, and then create a bunch of roles and create some users in those roles. I will run that now so you can see the result, and then later we can come back and maybe tweak this a bit further to do some more manipulation on this, some more automation. Okay, so I'm going to fire up my PowerShell. Obviously, PowerShell does need to run in admin mode, or else it won't be able to do a number of these manipulations. And I'm going to run the script reset DNN. And here we go.
A few moments later.
All right, it's now in the final stages of building or resetting the dev site. It's copying the files over to the destination. There we go. All right, what you can see now at the top of the screen here is that it's actually going out to the website, and it's now receiving the stream of the website, receiving the web page. Once that page is finished loading, then it will continue to create the roles and the users. Because by that time, of course, the database will have been installed, and so everything is ready to receive those. There we go. And we are there. We have added the roles and the users. Now, what we can do now is to actually go to the website and see what has been produced. As you may remember, the address was www.nuke.local. And here we are. So page comes up. We're going to log in. Host, DNN host, log in. And now I have to reset my password. And change the password. And I'm successfully logged in as host. And now we should be able to see that there are quite a few roles that have been created here. Berry, skirt, comparison, cup, flat, thick, as you can see. Very creative names. And a whole bunch of users are now there. I can tab through them. All right, so that rounds off this part of automating setting up DNN, or resetting your dev site, if you like. What I would like to do next is to even automate the resetting of the password of the host user, so that it no longer uses the default password. I could do this directly in the database, but what I would like to do is to show you another technology that can be used to do that. I'm probably going to break this video into two parts because it's probably run on for long enough already, and when we delve into that second part, there's quite a bit to discover there as well. So please hang on for the next episode.